Good morning, everyone. It's Neath and today is Sunday, November 21st, and it is going to be another live stream of a meditation and self inquiry. So, today you will notice in the information below this video that I've also added in Simon and Garfunkel's song called The Sound of Silence, which tells you what the topic is going to be about today, which is going to be about silence. And I think it's about, let's see, 7 minutes before I actually begin. And I'm here. If you're here, do let me know. And otherwise, when you join, I do hope that you enjoy this experience today. I got this amazing picture today of the moon, and it was so neat because, of course, it was quite dark when I was taking it, and but there were all these rings of color around, like a rainbow around. So it must have been the light shining off of the clouds, of course, but it was so beautiful. I just loved it, and I don't know if you had a chance to see the moon this morning, but or last night, but it was quite beautiful when I saw it today. So I thought, of course, that also linked in with this feeling of the sound of silence because, in our own space, when we see different beauty in nature, we can definitely go into the silence within ourselves to have a connection with a spiritual realm that, of course, meditation also allows us to do. And it is a beautiful experience. I think a lot of people in North America think of meditation as work. I've got to do my meditation. And the most beautiful experience of meditation is just being in the meditative space. And this might take a little bit of retraining of our own thinking patterns to understand and value this space. So I'm hoping that today, in our meditation, we will get to enjoy this together and you will get to experience this. And of course, only you will know what's going on within your own mind, but I will try to direct you in a way that helps you silence your mind and to appreciate that silence too. It is 5 minutes left, and again, I'll be starting in 5 minutes with the meditation. I'll go right into the meditation. Today, I won't be going through the chakra system. I'm just going to get us to focus on breathing and focusing on space within this experience, too. So, silence, such a beautiful space. Now, some people are not comfortable with silence. Some people really want whether communication verbally or whether music or whether thoughts in the mind. And unless we're consciously aware of what we like and why we like it, we just kind of go about our days. And I would say that probably from my experience, more people are caught up in the thoughts that are happening in the mind. I got to do this next, and then this, and then this. And of course, in the self inquiry time, I will talk about this a little bit. But for now, I'll just sip my water and wait for the 4 more minutes before I start this meditation. I hope that you have some water with you or have had some water. Maybe you've even had breakfast. Maybe you're just waking up and all of it is good. I love whenever you might be watching this. And I hope that you find a space of silence to do that. So, a few more minutes. What else can I tell you? Today, I can say that there is a beautiful space of silence just in the neighborhood. And you might notice this on Sunday mornings, especially because less people are rushing to work, at least in North America. There might be some. And I think overall, I really notice the space of silence on Sundays. And I've always loved seeing this with clients too, that there's a different space that opens up in people's minds and lives, often on the weekends. And even though there seems to be this, I got to catch up on all the things I couldn't do during the weekdays. For me, of course, every day has become very similar. And I'd say In terms of private practice, of course, that's one of the joys of private practice that for me, every day has the space that I would like to make in it because I consciously create it. And of course, not only private practice, but self employed, of course, has this luxury, I'm going to say. And of course, it's what we do in that luxury too, right? For me, it's been a time to really connect with nature, to also really connect with myself. I do my meditation regularly, of course, but I also am really understanding myself and taking the time to know thyself, as they talk about. It is a beautiful experience to really understand the depth of ourselves, our likes, our dislikes, our joys, our sorrows, the meaning of life, all the simple questions. But I do hope that if you are making some time for yourself to do this is fantastic. I know I'm always amazed when I speak with people who say, I don't have time for meditation. And in this process that we do on Sunday mornings now, it's only half an hour, and really the meditation itself is only 15 minutes. But I do remember this time for myself too. There was a time where it felt like I had so much to do, and there was always something pulling at this needs to get done, or that needs to get done, or I've got to call this person, I've got to write back to this person, I've got to take care of my four-legged baby, and all of these things. I got to make a meal. I got to make something interesting and exciting for my husband. I want to go shopping with my husband. I want to go see a new place with my husband. I want to travel. All of these things were in my mind quite regularly. And I think if someone was telling me at that time, you can meditate, and I've meditated for many, many years, but I'll say that in the beginning, it felt like, oh, I just can't find the time to do this. And I'm going to make the time. So it was a conscious intention. Now, that time is so easy to find for me. So I hope that for you, you might notice this sort of, I'll say, transformation in your own life too. And it's 8 o'clock. So 8 o'clock, and it is meditation time. Today is going to be a focus on silence. So I would love for you to, whether you're lying down or sitting on a chair, and I would love for you to put your hands just to the side. I'm going to put my hands on my lap, and we can begin with 3 deep cleansing breaths, right? So we can even put our hands together for this section. And let's take a deep breath in. Breathe in and out. And in and out. And in and out. Now you can put your hands to the side or on your lap, and you'll notice the more calm your system is, the longer your breaths will be. And I want you to know that one of the most important, or maybe the most important healing space is going to be the space between breaths. So often you might hear, and I'm going to remind you today, take your breath in for as many seconds as you want. Maybe don't even count, just take a deep breath in. Hold the breath for just a couple seconds and then breathe out. And after the exhalation, see if you can hold the breath for just a couple seconds. Just hold that space. I'd like you to do that throughout this entire meditation as I just kind of guide you to relax your system and focus on your breathing today. So let's take a deep breath in and out. And in and out. I want you to think of the air coming into your body as you're breathing in and out. As you breathe in, I want you to think of the air getting right to your toes. So take a deep breath in and keep breathing. Can you move up to focus on your entire foot now and feel that air flowing right to your feet? Now I'd like you to think of the air moving from your ankles through your entire lower legs below the knee. And breathe in and out. Breathing. Now I'd like you to think of your knees through your hips. So right up through the thighs, right to the hips, knees to hips. Focus on the air going through this area. Now let's come from the hips right to the waist and think about the air flowing through from the hips to the waist. Now I'd like you to focus on the air going through from the waist to the shoulders. Breathe in and out. And keep breathing. Now I want you to think about your shoulders to your elbow and the air moving through this region. As you breathe in, hold, and breathe out, and hold, and keep breathing. Now I want you to think of the entire arms. So now we're including from the shoulders right to the fingertips. So breathe in and hold, and breathe out and hold, and keep breathing. Now I'd like you to come from your shoulders up to the top of your head. So you're thinking of going through the throat, through the third eye, through the crown, from the shoulders to the top of the head. Breathe in and out, and keep breathing. Now, when you're breathing in, I'd like you to think of the entire body. So imagine taking this deep breath that goes all the way to your toes. And when you're breathing it out, it's going all the way back through your body and out through the crown of your head. So breathe in and out, in and and in and out. Keep breathing. Excellent. Now I'd love you to bring your hands together and we'll take 3 deep cleansing breaths right here. Take a breath in and out, in and out, and in and out. If you put your hands back down onto your lap or on the sides of you, I'd like you to think for just a minute about the space between your breaths. And I want you to focus on this when we do 3 more breaths. Okay, so take a breath in and out. Focus on this space and breathe in and out. Focus on the space and breathe in and out. Namaste, everyone. Fantastic. If you got through this morning's session, you've just done a quiet meditation, right? So, in the last few meditations, I've guided you through the chakra system and different sorts of focus. And today I wanted to make sure that we're focusing on silence. And, even from the very first time that I formally learned about meditation, and at that time I was doing transcendental meditation, learned about the space between breaths being the most important space. And today, of course, as I'm teaching about spirituality and our connection with our higher selves, this is again brought to my attention, which I wanted to bring to your attention. So we think about self inquiry and silence, and we think about what is the space of silence that we give ourselves. Now, if you heard the beginning of this video, you might know that I've added in a bit of information under this video about Simon and Garfunkel's song, Sound of Silence. And this is a deep song, and maybe you know it. I know I've loved it for quite some time. But there is so much that's said in that song that we can even just understand in our day to day experience of silence, right? The sound of silence. Now, you know that the sound of silence or silence in general or space means different things for different people. So I thought about how you might self inquire about this and what does silence mean to you? So, if someone is silent, let's say if you are looking for communication from someone and you're not hearing anything, that's silence. And that can be really not comfortable, right? Because the mind will go into, and I have a tendency of going into this. If I reached out to someone, I'm not the person who needs an immediate response, but I really do appreciate when someone takes the time to respond to me when I've communicated with them. At the same time, I understand an individual's need for silence too. So, understanding the sound of silence or the value of silence, I'm going to say, is really useful. It's also understanding how does another person perceive a silence too, right? So that's compassion, right? That's compassion of understanding that, oh, this is what it might mean for the other side, and this is what it means for me. And maybe you meet in the middle about communication. Now you can look at yourself. We go deeper as to what does silence mean to me, just for me? Because a lot of times people are not so comfortable in sitting with themselves in silence. So you might notice this if you try to do meditation, that the mind might try to keep your mind busy or yourself busy, your human level self of don't forget you got to do this and this has to be done in this amount of time. So if you've decided to put 15 minutes aside, you will be mindfully aware, probably. Some people will set an alarm of, okay, in 15 minutes I'm done, right? So, oh, I've done my meditation, right? Which is fine. It's a great way to start. And I know that I did that originally too. But over time, it's actually a really pleasurable experience to be in this meditative space because most of us don't give ourselves that time for silence. And some people are not so comfortable with that. So, if they would like company and they've got the silence around them, they're missing company. So, the mind will start thinking about, oh, I should speak with someone. I should reach out to someone, or I wish someone would reach out to me. So, those sorts of things. And recognizing that that's kind of an awareness of how do you feel about silence? And silence and space are very similar, right? So, I know I thought I would bring your attention today to also space between people. So some people, have a desire for much more space, even when we're standing. And today, there's a social distancing, but there's also the space between friends and family. Some people are not so comfortable with hugs. And I'm not even talking about COVID restrictions, but in terms of this is my personal space. So you'll notice that some people, when you give them a hug, they're very stiff, right? They're very not comfortable. They don't flow into that hug. And others want to just melt into you and you just want to melt into them, right? So that's sort of awareness and awareness of yourself, of how do you feel about that contact. Sometimes it's about hands touching hands, right? We always hear about the types of different handshakes, right? That if you're going into a business meeting, it should be this nice firm handshake, and this shows that you have confidence in yourself. And then there's the fish handshake, which doesn't have much commitment to it at all, right? So it's like, oh, nice to meet you, right? That sort of handshake. And we know these things, we're kind of consciously aware of it. But especially in a business meeting, we can be very aware of it. In family and friends, we might be less than aware of it, or we might be acutely aware of it. Of, I think I've offended this person because this is how they're shaking my hand now, or this is the type of hug that they're giving. It's not so warm anymore. So that sort of idea, we have this awareness. Then come back to you. What is the space you're giving from? Right? So recognizing that. I was thinking about this about the road that I know that for myself, I'm always aware when someone is trying to merge into the space right in front of my car that I want to give enough space for that person to be really comfortable, that there is no concern that their car might hit my car. And the reason I do that is because I know I like that extra space myself. I love feeling like there's more than enough room here for me to get in comfortably. And I do know that I've been with drivers in the past that have put very little space between themselves and the other car in front of them for allowing someone to get in between. And I've said, well, do you want to leave a little bit more room for that person? And they said, they've got enough room. And I guess they do. From the driver's perspective, they feel there's enough room. From my perspective, I would like more room. So I like to give the same to another person. So today you might think, do you give enough room to another person? This could be just walking, right? So someone's just trying to get in front of you or riding a bicycle. Same idea is how much space do you give to another person for their comfort? Even when we hold a door, do you hold it? And because I'll hold doors for people, I'm always very comfortable with taking my time and holding it until that person is comfortably either grabbed the door or actually right through the door, right? So I like that space for myself and others. I like to give people lots of time before I call them too. So if I'm going to reach out to someone, I will usually text them beforehand to let them know that, hey, I'm going to try to call around this time. And then the person has time to respond to me about whether that's a good time for them or not. I love being able to call someone and they're right there to respond. And if they're free, they can speak with me at that time. But I love also knowing if they're not able to get my call at that time, that they'll get my message. And when the time is right, they'll reach back to me. And again, we come back right to the beginning of what I was talking about in this self inquiry time is what is the amount of space you give between communicating, right? So, you know that communication to me is a very, very important aspect of life, of communicating with each other. And again, we often stem from this is how I feel. I'm not on my phone all the time, so I'm not going to respond right away, or I don't want to look at my email, so I'm taking a break. It doesn't hurt to give that heads up to a person, right? So, someone who is communicating with you regularly would be nice to be able to say that this is the amount of time that I'm going to be not on my cell phone, or this is how often I do look at messages, or this is the time that I'm going to have time to respond to people who are trying to reach out to me. So it just keeps that clarity between yourself and another person who cares, right? And this to me, I think, is just a very respectful way of communication. And we're all going through different things. We're all processing different things in our lives. Important for us to know where we are and to be able to share that with someone or people or ourselves, right? That I need this space for this. Or, and it's not that you need to say all the details because I'm doing this, this, this. I might have a tendency to do that because I love to make sure that people know that this is what I'm doing. And it's not because you're not important to me. This is what I'm doing in this space. And I will get back to you at this time. I love that. I just find it so kind. And it's because it's the kind of communication that I would like to receive. That is what I give from. So you see that it's the same, whether it's on the road, whether it's in phone calls, whether it's in texting or emails, whether it's in the space to allow someone to speak. I love listening to people and I love being heard too. And you might notice this about yourself. So, when you're communicating with someone, when you're actually communicating with someone, do you give space for that communication, for a person to gather their thoughts and to express fully what they're trying to communicate with you? Because oftentimes you might find that either yourself or the other person, you can almost tell that your own mind is thinking about, oh, I got to let them know this. And you're really excited about, I got to let them know this. I really want to share this. And it's such a pleasure to be heard in that time, right? I know I have a girlfriend that is very good. We're very good in this sort of communication. I've got actually a few friends that are very good in this sort of communication, not just girlfriends, too, guy friends also. It's like, okay, so I've got some stuff to tell you, and here's the stuff that I've got to tell you. And it's like, oh, okay, that's great. I'm going to give you time to share with me all the things that are on your mind because I want to hear. And it's such a beautiful experience when a person is sharing that. I found that when someone is saying that to me, that tell me everything what's going on with you. I want to catch up. Have you covered everything? So even when I finish sharing, that they say, is there something else? Like, what else is going on? What's happening in this and what's happening in that? It's like, what are you doing in your personal life? What's in the professional life? What are you making in terms of your next course? And that sort of idea. And then now, are you finished? Are you sure? I love those checking in with each other experiences. And then for them to be hearing the same thing from me. Are you sure that you've shared everything that you wanted to get off of your mind or your chest? Or it's that feeling of I'm here to listen. I'm here to connect with you. I'm here to give you that space, right? And in that, certainly when we're in the listening mode, we're allowing silence, right? For from ourselves so that another person can express, which is beautiful, right? And it's so beautiful when this is reciprocated, where another person is saying, now you share. And I'm allowing you to share because I'm going to be silent. And it's a really beautiful thing to flow with each other this way, to understand that as humans, we really have this desire to connect, this desire to be heard, to a desire to also listen, right? So this is, wow, someone is trusting me with something that is important to them, and I'm here to listen. Recently, there's a new patient that I was speaking with, and she's very creative. And she's creative in artwork. I'm creative in my poetry right now. And, she can talk about her artwork, and I love it. At the end of her appointment, I know that I had, maybe even in her appointment, I had mentioned that I can understand because I'm also drawn to poetry for myself. And I remember sharing with her that something that she was talking about really resonated with a poem that I wrote. And I asked her if she would like to hear it. And she did. And she waited for me to find that poem to share with her. And it was such a beautiful experience to hear this client of mine making space for me to hear the poem because I felt it resonated with what she was saying. And it did. And it was such a beautiful experience, I believe, for both of us that she would have felt and did feel, I believe, that she had been heard about this creative space that she was in and that it was resonating with the creative space that I was in. And I believe the creative space that a lot of people are in requires a certain amount of silence for us to go within to connect with what is most meaningful to ourselves. And again, we'll find different experiences that will allow this sharing, right? So even if you are creative, recognize that it's the space of silence that allows that creation. And that space of silence is a wonderful gift to give to another too. So, first of all, I would love for you to give that gift to yourself. And I know that it's 8:30, so I have loved giving this space for us to think about silence. And again, remembering that you allow yourself that space of silence for your own creativeness or your creativity or your space for healing. All of it requires space. Your space for driving, your space for thinking, your space that happens in your sleep. We do it in our day in so many different ways, but to be consciously aware of that space, just like that space after your breath out, same thing. I hope that you will apply this to your life. I hope that today you have thought about silence and experienced it. And I am so grateful for you to be here to enjoy this discussion and self inquiry and meditation focusing on silence today. I wish you a fantastic day, everyone. And remember, transform your mind and transform your life. Have a great day, everyone.